Hey, what's going on, guys? I might just leave that on. I can just have background music. As in this, so I use a StreamYard. I can actually pick all sorts of music. This is again the thing Arno made for me, which Arno has other songs. I just realized today. He just makes like beats and stuff, and I don't think he'd mind me playing it. So I could do like Into Space. Is this nice background music? Feeding the Ducks. This is called. I don't know. I'll probably put something on tonight. So tonight, really, okay. Welcome Saturday morning underground. Fourth one. I know I'm a little late. I haven't been consistent at all. I apologize for that. I had last night. I was just hanging out with my kids, and it got late, and I had a couple drinks, and so I didn't feel a need. This isn't like I needed to be appointment television, I guess, for you guys. And 9 a.m. might be too early when I think about it consistently. So I might start trying to do 10. That feels a little easier, but this, I knew I missed it today, so I just figured what the heck. So anyway, this is going to be a brief one today. I don't have any guests or anything. It is, what is it, February 18th. Litecoin today is right around $100, something like that. It's been sitting around there for the last week or so, and about 0.4% of a Bitcoin. And really today, what I wanted to do, also, what else did I write here? Oh, the sun is shining. It's a good day outside, actually. It's been a really nice February out here in the Midwest. So I really want to just talk about two things today. Inflation and this thing I'm calling Litecoin Values. I feel like there's a better name out there for it, but that's what I'm going with right now. Couple announcements. I know that not a lot of people are watching live. Maybe you'll watch a recording of this tonight on this channel. This one will be set in stone at 9 p.m. We're going to do poker, live poker for the first time. I actually might give you a preview because I set up an account already, but it's going to be me. Hi, Jason. What's up? It's going to be me, Baglamas, so these are all Litecoin underground spaces. If you come to the spaces, you know these people. Baglamas, Tux, Indigo is going to play. Animal, the guy from up in Canada who's been on the last few weeks, and Chief Litecoin is the one who's kind of coordinating it. I'm hoping this will be a regular thing. It might not always be here. We might even create a channel or something at some point. But I don't know. Maybe even every couple weeks. And I feel like with poker, it'll be a little more laid back. It might be kind of fun. It'll be in the evening for us. And yeah, maybe we end up getting some bigger names in. So I apologize. My dog's going nuts because of the mailman. So, all right. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was inflation. So I was getting into, this is something I mentioned on the show a couple weeks ago, not on this show, but on the Underground Spaces on Wednesdays. And I went and visited I guess my uncle-in-law would be technically who it is. So my wife's uncle and aunt. And they, as soon as we walked through the door, they were griping about the cost of eggs and the cost of gas and all these taxes that have been levied against them. They're up in northern Michigan, very rural Michigan. And I'm going to say eggs were like $6 or $7 a dozen up there. And, it just really struck me. These aren't people that are sitting there worrying about the stock market. These aren't people that are concerned about Bitcoin or Litecoin or gold or any of that stuff. They're just feeling the impact, right? They're feeling the impact of what it is to have everything you buy has instantly gone up, or not instantly, but the course of a couple of years, we're seeing 10%. And then certain items like we saw with eggs recently, or you saw with lumber right after COVID. Remember, lumber went like a sheet of plywood was like $75 or something insane like that, right? Or a 2x4 stud was, I think, like $8 or something when they used to be, $2-3. So I realize that's an area that people have a lot of pain. Like it's very real to people. You can talk in the abstract about, there's a fixed supply of 84 million Litecoin and they're printing money and that causes inflation. And when it's kind of this, intellectual conversation, or there's no tactile, that's the word I'm looking for. No, that's not the word I'm looking for. Tangible. Gosh, tangible. When it's not tangible to them, not real, it's just kind of a number. They don't they don't really grasp what you're talking about. When you start to when they start to see it and they start to feel it when you go to the grocery store and you go to buy, a handful of things that you've always bought and the price isn't just up a few percentage points, it's up significantly. So, maybe you used to go buy a loaf of bread, a gallon of milk, and a dozen eggs, and it was, gosh, a few years ago, that would have been like $5, $6. And now it might be double that. I mean, that's a massive impact for people who don't have a ton of disposable income to begin with. And so I think it's an area that we need to be better about discussing when we're talking about cryptocurrencies and why they're valuable. Is that, like, we have to do it in a way that isn't like abstract, like it's very real to people. So I actually pulled up something. I thought this was good. So I don't know if you guys have used AI at all. I've started to mess around with it. What's interesting about AI is I think people can get good with it. I want to practice more with it because it really is a valuable tool, particularly if you're trying to explain something, or maybe you have a thought in your head about like you're trying to make an analogy or connecting two things and you can't quite put them together or put them into good words. You can kind of type out, hey, tell me a story, right? Can you write about the relationship between, it could be like time. I did last night. I was doing like time preference and money or something like that. Or I said, compare two villages. One has high time preference, the other has low time preference. And it told a story, like it gave this analogy. It was really interesting. So it's, AI is not perfect. It's obviously got a lot of things that people don't like about it, that it censors itself. But the reality is, if you're just using it to kind of get past a writer's block, or you're just trying to get a thought out that you can't quite explain, it's a really great way to do that. So I did two things. Let me pull this up. Thinking about buying some chickens. Yamil, you are? I am too. So I had in my, by the way, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Yamil, I guess give me a thumbs up if I got that right. But he, I no, in my town, they used to be allowed to own chickens. And they would, people had hens mostly for laying eggs. And my neighbor a couple doors down had them, and then they outlawed it. Like out of the blue, because some people complained about the noise of chickens or something, which is no different than the noise of a dog. But they outlawed it for like 2 years. But I guess because they protested enough to say you're allowed to own chickens. So I'm technically allowed to own chickens. I may do that as well. But then by the time you do that, the eggs will be back down to 99 cents, and we'll be like, damn. Oh, Jamil. Okay. Sorry, Jamil. Baglamas is here. First time appearing. I could bring you in if you wanted, Baglamas. I'm not planning this being a long one. Tonight's going to be fun. The 3 hours or maybe more of poker. I don't know how long poker is going to last. It's going to be a while, but let me pull this up. Hold on. All right. Boom. All right. So I was using chat AI. So like this one, I asked it to do explain the development of money using a growing fishing. Hang on. I didn't do this last week, and I apologize. It was very hard to read some of these things. Can I get rid of this stupid thing though? I guess not. Okay. So I said, explain the development of money using a growing fishing business in a small village trading for goods and services. Right. And it'll tell you like a whole story. Small fishing village, development of money, why you would want to trade for different things. The food is perishable. And as you trade with neighboring villages, like it goes into a pretty good amount of detail. And I think these are probably really good ways if we want to start kind of putting together analogies for people that are real, or that they can start to understand, because really storytelling is probably the thing that in crypto we're like the absolute worst at. I think as a general theme, people who are in crypto are very, what I would say, technical thinkers. And it's like, once I get it, I have a hard time communicating that out. I mean, maybe I'm, I don't know, I want to pat myself on the back. I feel like I'm a little better at that type of stuff than some people, but it gets very becomes very logical thinking. We don't think about like, hey, I have to actually communicate this thing not in a purely numbers and logical way for people to understand it. So AI might be a good way for us to do that in crypto. So I said, explain the loss of value of money through inflation using an analogy of a leaky bucket. I don't know that I 100% agree with this yet, but it at least gets the juices flowing a little bit. Concept of inflation, which results in the loss of money over time, can be explained using an analogy of a leaky bucket. Imagine you have a bucket that you want to fill with water and you begin filling it from a hose. However, the bucket has a small hole in the bottom, and as you continue to fill it, water starts leaking out. I think this is a perfect analogy in general for people to understand. You're trying to store something for the long term. Now you might want to use like a water tower or something else. Maybe it's a grain elevator or something where the concept of I'm trying to store something for a long time, but despite my efforts, that something is dwindling. And in order to continue to fill it, I have to work. I have to work more just to maintain where I was. I think that's a good analogy. Water flowing from the hose represents the money supply in an economy. The more money that is printed and circulated, the more water flows into the bucket. Don't fully agree with this analogy. However, the hole in the bottom represents inflation, which causes the value of money to increase over time. I think like if you explain that the more water there is, the bigger that hole kind of gets because, or maybe that the bucket itself is limited in size and that the more water you put in, it's only going to spill over the top. That might make more sense actually. All right. Anyway, I got some comments in here. Yeah, Baglama stopped in. Yeah, Charlie, it would be cool. I think we could get Charlie into a game of poker. He does play. And sorry, Jamil said this. I know he's a good poker player. Maybe we'd be too small time, but I kind of feel like it could be a really good rotating schedule of people and a good way to actually get people to come in, and maybe they'll want to use it as a platform to do some interviews that might be more fun than just sitting here talking, right? If we have a group of us, because that's really what, if you guys, most of you probably have come into the Litecoin Underground, that's kind of what it turns out to be. It's like there's 6 or 7 of us hanging out and we all talk about it. But this is right now, this is Chief Litecoin's thing. I don't want to take anything away from him. He's the one that kind of coordinated and came up with it. And I think he's going to drive it for the most part. I don't plan on doing it every week, but I do like playing poker. And if I got open on Saturday night, I might do it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay. Just as the water leaks out of the bucket, the purchasing power of money decreases as more money is circulated in the economy. This can happen for various reasons, such as increased demands for goods and services, higher production costs, or changes in policy. I mean, these are pretty good considering you asked this thing a question. It does it in 2 seconds. As the value of money decreases, prices for goods and services increase, requiring more money to purchase the same items. This can lead to a cycle of inflation where prices continue to rise. This is pretty boring. To combat inflation, yeah, this is like textbook economist, right? To combat inflation, measures such as raising interest rates, reducing government spending, or tightening policy can be taken to decrease the flow of money. Okay, in summary, just as water leaking from a bucket reduces the amount of water in the bucket, inflation causes the value of money to decrease over time, reducing the purchasing power of individuals. To prevent this loss, measures must be taken. All right, so I think this is a good technical economist analogy of what inflation is. And I think anybody who's in cryptocurrency gets a concept of what inflation is. I think most people feel it. Like I said, they know, well, things are getting more expensive. I think that's the most basic thing. And what politicians try to do and what the media has tried to do is say, well, this is because corporations are greedy, right? They're raising their prices. If anybody who's a working person who understands how their business works, how their costs have risen, and therefore, the cost of employees has risen because there's not enough people to work right now. So prices have gone up on labor, prices have gone up on benefits, prices have gone up on gas and freight and raw materials. And so just across the board, there's just been this insane increase in price. I used to work at a company that sold packaging. So we sell plastic bags and boxes and tape and stuff like that. And in 1 year, in the COVID year, 2020, everything that was made out of plastic, so bags, stretch film, bubble wrap, foam, anything when you open up a pack, it's got those little air pillows in it or whatever you might have. Every single thing more than doubled in price in a year. I'm not saying 10%, doubled in price. And I know that like corrugated boxes went up like 60 or 70% in a year. So businesses have to absorb that cost, and the only person to pass it on to is the end user. And so it generally hasn't been people getting greedy. It's generally been people just surviving as a business. But I think inflation is important to talk about, but what probably is really more important to talk about is hyperinflation. Let me pull, I had a couple things here. Hang on. So I talked about this this week in the spaces. Should I be like here or should I be down here? Is that better? A? Oh, look, that's different. B or C? No, C. I kind of like that one. Then you can really see it. So this is hyperinflation in the Weimar Republic. So this is after World War I. You guys have heard this before. I just show this chart because it's so crazy to me what happened. So in 1918, at the end-ish of World War I, you could buy one gold mark, which I'm guessing, you know what? I should look what a gold mark is. I'm guessing it represented a certain set amount of gold, right? Obviously. I'd be silly to make this video and not have already done that research. I could give the same analogy with dollars, I guess. So just know it represents a certain amount of gold. I'm going to go with that. If I'm wrong, correct me somewhere in the comments. All right. So from even in the first 2 years, if we look at this chart, it's a log scale chart. So even in 2 years, it was 50 times. This is roughly at 50. You lost 50x your purchasing power. So if you had $50,000 in 1918 or 50,000 paper marks, they bought the equivalent of one paper mark 2 years later. Just that level of growth is just mind-blowing. And it goes beyond just, well, there's more money in the system, and therefore there's less purchasing power of your dollar. This is something completely different. And so just this move seems wild, right? And then all of a sudden, in a 6-month range here, it actually corrected to come down to almost 10. I probably could find some more exact numbers here, but let's just say 10. So your dollar all of a sudden got 5 times more valuable in a matter of 6 months. And then here it is back again. It started to stabilize a bit. Actually, maybe they got things under control, and then it just went off the rails. So then you lost your purchasing power doubled, halved. So I would say like this stretch, people probably started to feel pretty good. There was like an initial freak out because of the end of the war. And then, hey, we've got things under control a little bit. I only lost double my purchasing. I only lost half my purchasing power over the course of 1, 2, 3 years. Only half, right? And then it just completely skyrocketed as people lost total faith in the money. So you went in a matter of 6 months. What's 10,000 divided by 100? 10x, 100x. You lost 99% of your purchasing power. And then again, 99%, 99%, 99%, 99%. So it became worth literally nothing. And you start to wonder, like, how is that even possible? And it doesn't seem like, it feels like things would be done differently. I mean, certainly what we've done today is different than this situation. What happened in Germany had to do with a lot with there was payment due to France and England because of the war. And so they started printing the money off to pay their debts in their own money. And that's what caused a real wild hyperinflation. Well, that's what causes inflation. The hyperinflation to me is more of a psychological event. It's more of a recognition that um, your money has zero value to you in that moment. So I was thinking about this in terms of like we had this water crisis. This is probably maybe 7 or 8 years ago. You guys could probably go look it up. I'm trying to remember if we had. I think we had a baby. Yeah. So maybe 9 years ago might be right. And here in Ohio, where I live, they had some issue with algae that was in the water. And let me see if I'm gonna make myself a little bigger. Oh Jesus, I can't do anything today. There we go. So they had an issue with the water where there was algae growing out in Lake Erie and it was getting into the river and the water system. And they said, hey, this water's no longer a safe level to drink. And you basically, hey, here's this city or this area I live in is 500,000 to 1 million people, and you can't drink water anymore. You can't drink your tap water, and we highly recommend you don't take showers. And it was like everybody freaked out. Like it was everyone ran to the grocery store. There were lines at the grocery store getting cases of water for drinking, and you lined up, like the truck would show up and people would just be waiting there, just pulling them off. And I remember going to like this kind of niche little grocery store that's like a high-end grocery store. They were all out of cases. Everybody was out of water. And I was buying like these big 1 liter. It was like whatever, there's Fiji water, and then there's like whatever's above Fiji water. So I was buying this like expensive ass water to drink. And I was paying like, I don't even know, probably $4 a bottle for a liter of water. And I get home and like we're just kind of trying to figure, and I remember thinking to myself, why did I just freak out? Like I could have just driven up to, I don't know, an hour away and gone to any grocery store and they'd have plenty of water. It was just literally this one, maybe 30 square mile area. So I could have driven an hour, 2 hours anywhere, paid normal price, and had as much water as I needed. But like in that moment, like you're just caught up in the kind of hysteria of it. And I think that's the same thing that can happen. Now, granted, this in Germany is different because I think it's it's not completely different. What happens is your brain maybe in that moment recognizes that the money I have doesn't really have any value to me. Like I don't care how much it costs. The last thing I need to do is have no water. If I can't drink water, I'm going to die. Like I don't know how we thought that was going to happen. And it wasn't like it was poisonous water, it just had a little algae in it. Might make you sick. It wasn't going to kill you. But it just was an interesting like moment where I like to think of myself as a logical thinker, but man, in the moment you get caught up in it. You're watching the news and you're reading people freaking out and you're seeing that nothing's there. I think the same thing happened with toilet paper at COVID, right? Everyone ran out to the store and was buying an unreasonable amount. Like how much? You're not going to poop more. Like what do you think's going to happen, right? Maybe we'll be sheltered in place for months and months. I don't know. Maybe that's what people were thinking. But as soon as psychologically people understood, well, I have to have it because if I don't buy it now, it's going to go, it might not be available to me to buy. And I view this as a necessity, then it kind of compounds itself. And then you go, well, I'll better buy 3 of them, or I'll buy as much as I possibly can. I'll go to the store, and if they've got 6 packs of 24 toilet paper, I'll buy them up because why not, right? It's not like they go bad. And so it just got to be this strange frenzy where they had to start rationing toilet paper to people purely because of just a collective like psychosis almost. Now, I don't think hyperinflation is necessarily psychosis. What it does is it amplifies something that already exists. Like we already all know the money is only as valuable as the next person is willing to acknowledge it's valuable for. So in hyperinflation, like, okay, in the situation where I'm trying to buy water, I know this, like in that moment for me, the money has no value beyond beyond getting that thing in the moment. So I have like a very what they call high time preference. Hang on a second. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put a little music on here. I think let's try. By the way, I don't have music. You hear that? It's kind of way too chill. I like Arno's thing. I'll just keep this slightly back. Anyway, so if you have in that moment, I understand. Like I said, I'm going to buy something from that I see as a necessity, and my money to me is worthless. Like if I'm drowning, I would pay any kind of money for a life preserver, right? It becomes nothing to me. I could care less. But I think what happens in hyperinflation is that everybody has that same feeling. And like, when you go to the store or whatever, when you get money in your hand, well, nobody sees this as having any value. And the only reason someone would accept it is because they are forced to take this money. So it might be a government entity, like you have to pay taxes, or a business that's licensed by the government, where they basically can't operate unless they accept the local currency. And what happens is everybody just runs out and they spend just like toilet paper at COVID, except it's for absolutely everything that you could think of buying. So people get this thing in their hand and they're going to go buy something that has lasting value beyond this paper. So it might be something like, obviously food is one of the most basic necessities, but things like gold and silver at least have some sort of carrying power over time. So you can actually get the value of them in a few months. So that's why things like houses, I've went on a rant on Wednesday why buying a house is actually, in my opinion, an extremely important thing, because if the dollar collapses and you own your home, whatever the new money is that arises, whether it's CBDCs or it's, we get taken over and it's the ruble, whatever it might be, the thing I own at least will have some value in that new money. Or maybe it is cryptocurrency, that it will at least be exchangeable, where if I just have a dollar doesn't mean anything, right? Or like a trading card or something that doesn't have any real value that people will need. So shelter's always going to need. All right. Is the music too loud, by the way, everybody? Or is that just about right? You can give me like a thumbs up. Or is it too quiet? I kind of want to have it as just background. But I don't know if it gets annoying. That's at 17. Anybody? All right. Tell me if it's like overpowering. But I feel like that's too loud. I don't know. Or is it annoying? I don't know. You tell me. All right. So the other thing I want to show you was that was the Weimar Republic. Right, they're having the same thing right now in Venezuela. I was telling my daughter this last night. I said they had 234% inflation, meaning if you bought something for, what was the number? $3, it'd be basically 10 today. In just 1 year. And here's the craziest part. It's dropped from 130,000%. I almost didn't even do the math on that. Who's got the oh, no louder. All right, hang on. I'm gonna drop it a little bit. Just a bit. 15 is gonna be it. That's the number. $130,000, 130,000%, which, how do you do these? 100% is doubling, right? So what would be 130,000%? That's 2x. 1,000 is 10x, right? Something like that. That's 10. That's 300. So that's 1,300 times. I mean, that's just like a number that's not even real to me. It just seems ridiculous. So the thing I tried to explain to her and that we talked about on Wednesday is the most horrible part about that is that if you live, now this has kind of been going on for years. Oh, you're saying quieter even, Boggs? Like this? That's way too quiet. I don't know. Anyway, like take this. Let me go back to this. You take this, right? Let's just look back at before World War I. I can't zoom any further, unfortunately. So if you lived in Germany, let's say you were born in 1870, and you grow up there and you work your entire life. You're earning your money, you're saving it, you're putting it into a bank. Maybe you're earning some interest on it. You pay your taxes, you're a law-abiding citizen, you do everything you're supposed to do. You pay your property taxes, your sales taxes, whatever other things they had. Raise a family, you say, you know what? Or maybe you were born in 1860, okay? So you're almost 60 years old. The war comes to Germany, and this happens to your money. So everything you did before this day, right here, gets wasted. It's completely worthless. Like, I think that's a really, somebody who, like, you want to leave a legacy. You'd like to leave something to your kids. You like to try to make the world a better place, or maybe you get older and you want to donate to a charity or whatever it is. But to think that your entire work, everything just gets evaporated in a matter of 5 years, everything you've worked for, it's a theft that, like, it's so wrong, it's not even funny. Like George Floyd, I don't know if you guys know this, George Floyd, the reason he was being arrested is because he counterfeited, or he was spending a counterfeit $20 bill. I would doubt he even personally counterfeited that dollar. He's spending a fake bill that somebody printed and counterfeited. And to think that the government prints $6 trillion and nobody cares. Like, that's just the business. That's the way of going about things. Like, we're so concerned about this one guy maybe passing off a fake bill so he can get a snack or a drink or a pack of cigarettes, whatever he was getting at that grocery store or that carryout. And he gets arrested for that. And then meanwhile, this goes on. The governments do this, and they steal from every single person who's ever worked. And primarily they're stealing from the people who have been building their whole lives. So that's where I just get, I get very bothered by this stuff, because when you really think about it, it's a pretty big injustice. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about, and this is going to be short. I've been talking about this for freaking months, and this is on me. Maybe I'm looking for somebody else to, like, do the work for me. But the reality is I want to start down this path of Litecoin Values. Oh, wait. Before I get into this, you guys like when I do charts, right? I'm kind of, I've been doing charts almost as a joke, because I don't have any real technical expertise at all. So I've been using the 3-day. We're going to go on US dollars. Let's go here. Hang on. Let's go. Unless something's happened. I've been kind of the curse of Litecoin. Just so you know, on Wednesday nights, if you are in every week, it's almost a tradition that the show starts at 9 o'clock, and between about 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday nights, the price almost always goes down. So I would love to be able to pinpoint that. If anybody wants to actually test my theory, I'm convinced it's true. So let's, but I've been using a few things. There's lots of lines on here. I don't know what I'm talking about. I want to remind everybody, this is not financial advice. But I do know I guess I know some things. And this is the US dollar chart, which has been going really nicely. I think I even added a little bit of a metric here. This is the RSI, which has been slowly growing since June 12th, which was the absolute bottom. We got down to $40, it looks like. Pretty crazy. And since then, up 2.5x. RSI is strong. I've been trying to study this RSI a little bit, about like what the impact is, because generally what you see is if you get out of range here, out of this band of, this must be like 70 to 30, something like that. I don't know if that's standard or what. But if you look at like what happens when you get out of that band, almost always that's a good sign that you're going to go in the other direction pretty soon. Almost every single time, right? I think we had a little climb here. This was November, right before That was the last Bitcoin peak, actually. And went outside that range and dropped. Here we went outside that range and dropped. But what's interesting is we were way outside the range here, and we dropped, but then we came back to that range. But almost always, if you get here, be prepared, even though that one would have been a bad idea to trade. But if you'd sold this, would you be sad right now? I don't know. Depends on your patience level. Like if you just sold when you got out of that range and only bought when you got below the range, you would generally be like the greatest trader in the history of time. This one you would have bought at $52. So you would have sold at 180 here. You wouldn't hit the Pico top. If you could have gone here, and then you'd have bought back at 50, and then you'd be sitting here. So, I mean, generally that'd be a pretty good rule of thumb. I don't like trading, so I'm just showing you what I see. So anyway, right now we're at like, oh, by the way, the reason I don't like trading, I was an okay trader. As you can see, I'm a very simple person when it comes to this stuff. But honestly, the taxes were brutal because what I did, my taxes, my thinking was I wanted to gain more coins. So the problem when you do that is if you grow your coin stack, those are still recorded as dollar victories, right? So if let's say I bought, let's say I sold at 150, I bought back at 140, and I took all the proceeds and bought back at 140. So all my cash goes back in because I'm trying to grow my coin stack. And then maybe I sell at 180 and I buy back at 150. So I'm using all that cash all the way. Well, that's great on the way up. And then maybe you have more coins, but then everything drops 80% like we've seen consistently. I'm holding a bunch of coins that don't have any cash value, but I owe taxes on all the cash that I gained in those trades, all the cash value I gained. So that it can be, it's a big penalty. It's very difficult. And if you do trade, I guess set aside like half your money for taxes. I don't know what to tell you. But here's what I'm looking at on the 3-day. This is the 200, which has not turned around, the 200-day moving average. That has not turned, nor has the 100 really right here, which is interesting. So that's starting to flatten. Obviously, the big day is when this 100 can cross the 200 or something. But, you know, we're getting there. The 50-day turned around. The Bollinger Band has been on an upswing since basically November. So everything's looking good. We're in the top end of this channel. So we just need to stay, be prepared. It could go to $87 and still stay in that channel. It could go to down here to 72 and still be in the positive, growing that 100-day. So it might not feel great to say that, but just be aware that could come. That doesn't mean the end of the world. On the Bitcoin chart, does any of this mean anything to you guys? Do you like this at all? Or does this just sound moronic? I need feedback. That's why I like Twitter Spaces. I get instant feedback. Here, I'm just guessing. All right. This is a little different. This chart, to me, is a lot more dramatic. So the dollar one kind of has gradually grown. So we had this bottom. This was the bottom for the dollar one. And it's been this nice steady growth ever since, where this one's been a lot more dramatic. This is like a really bizarre dip, in my opinion. This just crashed down. We got back. We've been basically at this 2,500 level. I mean, we sat here from February of 22. No, wait, what? Yeah, February 22, really up until October 22. We spent about 8 months sitting at this 2,500 price. That flash dip down. That was the FTX thing? No, that was Celsius and Terra Luna and all that. And then here at Halloween, this was basically right after the Litecoin Summit. Not sure what impact that had. We saw a huge jump, and then we've kind of flattened out. So this could be seen a couple of different ways. You know, it could be like a big bull flag or something. But what's interesting here is the 100-day is on the increase in this one. In the dollar one, it's not yet. This one, it is pretty dramatically. The 50-day is obviously. And the 200-day is starting to flatten. Not quite there yet. But if here we go, the 100 day is about to cross the 200 day. And we're kind of in the middle of this Bollinger Band. We're not exactly at the top. We've kind of flattened out. So this is going to start tightening up. And hopefully, I don't know, I'm going to say this is going to cross here-ish. Let's say, I don't know. Start to see a positive move. So if we start to see something good, might see another leg up here in 2 weeks. Check me on that. March 2nd. Is that 2 weeks from today? Something like that. So hopefully this will be kind of the beginning. We'll start to see a move. You know, I don't know where we're going to go. I don't care. The point is, it's been positive. It's been good to see some good price action. Yeah, Boglemonts. Based on my calculations, will go up, and after that, it'll go down and then up some more. Or like, I don't know if you've seen Greg. Do you guys follow that guy, Greg? I don't even know what his number. His Twitter account's like Greg51362997. He's got like a dopey picture. I'm sure you've seen him. But he always does stuff like, hey, Bitcoin just crossed 24,000. If it crosses 24,500, we could be headed. We're going to start heading towards 25,000. He just takes the dumbest takes. It's pretty funny. So let's hope we stay here. I'd like to see this get above here. This is where I'd like to be, above this red line. But even if we bounce, again, this is the 100 day, we might drop down to here. That would actually make a lot of sense almost. Would be the bottom of what we would expect, 3378. That means you bounce off the 100 day, you bounce off the bottom of this Bollinger channel. But hey, the RSI is going down. I think that's actually a good thing. So as this is flattening, this RSI is going down because as we saw, when you jump out of these ranges, sometimes it's bad news. So we almost need to reset this. So if we go back up again, it's going to be in this range. Does that make any sense at all? Or if we were already up here right now, I'd be worried where we're at. But the fact this is kind of simmering down a bit is good. All right, that's my charts. Now I was going to talk to you about Litecoin values. Why does this matter to me? I don't know. It could be crypto values, I guess. So there are certain properties of money. Let me look that up, actually. Hold on. If you look up properties of money, there's like 6 different variations on it. People have, I think what they want to say is important is what they put in there. But I think we need to be thinking about how to communicate what makes cryptocurrency valuable. And when I say crypto, I mean like a proof of work, decentralized, peer-to-peer money, not necessarily all the other stuff, but just why is this valuable? Why is it important to people? Because you can't just tell people, well, there's a capped supply. There's only going to be 84 million ever. Like, so what? Like, I don't know that people understand that, right? Because there's only going to be X amount of Pokemon cards. Doesn't mean that every single one of them is valuable, right? There's only going to be X amount of, I don't know, the shoes I wear in my life. It doesn't mean my shoes are valuable, right? So you have to explain to like what it is that makes money valuable without getting into some goofy economics discussion. And so I was thinking about like, what are the different qualities of money that are important, or well, that not only are important, but that Litecoin specifically addresses. So things like censorship resistance. All right, well, that's one thing we could talk about. Why is censorship resistance important? You and I might sit here and talk about, well, you don't want the banks to be able to turn your money off. You don't want the government to put you on a list that you can't spend money, or you don't want to live in Russia, and because your country went to war, you no longer can use the banking system because the SWIFT system boycotted Russian citizens. Like, that's just not, it's not an easy conversation to have. So I think getting people to understand, why is censorship wrong? That might be the first thing, to have our values be more geared around the concept of why censoring money, or even censoring speech in general, is wrong. And if you can connect with people on like, hey, look at what's one of the ones we always talk about, like free speech. I mean, free speech, I think most Americans in particular understand the value of that. And I think as people around the world live in places like, I know in England, you can get in a lot of trouble for posting stuff on Facebook, even like if it's deemed unacceptable or bullying or something like that, you can get in trouble. So people there are probably starting to understand like why the censorship of speech is such a horrible thing, such a bad idea. So if we can equate that speech should be free, then tying speech to money, tying speech to like this code, all these all these protocols is just open source code, and there should be no reason to censor that either. And it's a good example right now is this whole ordinal thing going on in Bitcoin. To me, that's a form of free speech. These people are allowed to put anything in that blockchain they want, and I'm not anybody to say that they can't. And so in order to spread those values, we kind of have to live them. So these are things I want to figure out how to communicate clearly and concisely. So censorship resistance. So like something about free speech is absolute, or people should not be allowed to prevent you from speaking. Something that would connect with people beyond the money aspect. So then it ties Litecoin to those values. Does this make any sense? Again, I need a feedback. You guys got to consistently feedback for me. So censorship resistant. Free speech is absolute. Code equals speech. Code should be free just as money, whatever we want, however we want to phrase that. Something along those lines. Why are free markets preferable? That'd be another thing if we can find a way to communicate that. I'm looking for help here. Maybe I need to sit down and do this myself. And then what's the other one? Permissionless. Meta Kerman, I don't think he's listening right now, but he had one where he says, if you're asking for permission, you're seeking denial. So that might be the type of thing that makes someone curious. So what do you mean by that? And they maybe start asking questions about, when am I asking permission? And it may start to connect with them. There you go, Bagelmas, a digital constitution. Yeah, something along those lines, because I, in particular, watching what's happened to Bitcoin should be, like, it's funny, we say how similar we are to Bitcoin, and we want to take all the good things. We want to go, look, well, Bitcoin's been strong because it's immutable, and it's a capped supply, and it's got a decentralized mining network, it's proof of work. And we're like, yeah, we're all those things too, right? We're just as good as Bitcoin as all those things. But we need to also be aware that all the bad things that we see about Bitcoin, or things that we feel are negative, have a negative impact on the adoption or survival of Bitcoin, if we don't think that those exact same things are going to come for Litecoin, then we, I think, are being very naive about that. And so in this moment right now where we have a good, strong community, and I think we have a very strong base of people who understand the fundamentals of cryptocurrency and why those fundamentals are important, it'd be a great time to develop kind of a framework for how we want this thing to go forward. Essentially, we are the community at this point in time, and we get to decide what do we want the future of Litecoin to be. Do we want to follow directly in Bitcoin's path and see? Granted, I think anybody wants to see those numbers go up on my chart. I mean, I don't think anybody's in cryptocurrency to watch themselves lose money. That's not why people are here. But that's what happened to Bitcoin, is that the money got so big, people became attracted to it for purely the speculation of it. They have no connection to why Bitcoin was created. They may say it, they may repeat a lot of the words, and it's become primarily like a marketing technique. A lot of the stuff talk about, I sit there and hammer guys like Michael Saylor, but if he comes in, he talks about, it's digital energy, and it's this. What does he talk about? God, some of the stuff he says. Essentially, it's storing digital energy. Like, he says things like that I don't even know what the heck that means. Like, there's no such thing as digital energy. There's energy, and you're not storing energy. There's nothing about Bitcoin that's storing energy. Like, I don't even know. I really don't even know what that analogy is, but it gets like blindly repeated. And so it sounds good, and it's a marketing technique, and people jump on board, and they're in this, and they're purely just doing this, creating this fervor just for number go up, rather than trying. And I think, in my opinion, have lost connection a lot with why was Bitcoin created. And this ordinals thing has brought forth a lot of that I get why people are frustrated about it, that I get why they don't like it. Again, if you don't know what ordinals are, look it up or listen to my live stream or the underground thing from Wednesday, the Twitter Spaces. But the idea of like we need to find a way to end these or to like censor them, or how do we filter these people out, or how do we find a way to not have these on Bitcoin because Bitcoin wasn't made for this. Like, as in, what they're saying is that my vision, my personal vision of Bitcoin isn't this, and therefore we need to change it or we need to censor it. I think that's the type of mentality that we want to avoid in Litecoin. We need to understand that if the number one rule, the number one Litecoin value is free speech, and code is speech. If people are putting code onto Litecoin, that's free speech, and that needs to be something we should collectively stand by as a community and say, this is the old dogs, or whatever you want to call us at that point in time. Let's say this is 6-7 years down the road, and they look back and say, well, hey, these guys have been in it for 10-12 years. They've been here. They set the foundation up, the foundation of the Litecoin community. Then maybe they should have some respect in that sense. Maybe we should listen to them. I think that's important. So that's what I'd like to talk about. I've been talking about this for like 8 months. So I don't, maybe it's just a matter of I need to use this chat AI and maybe he'll help me, or it will help me. I just gendered the chat. I apologize, not only to the chat, but to excluding women, to be honest with you. I should have said that. It could easily be a woman. So, yeah, so that's something I want to work on. I think censorship resistance is important. Immutability, the fraud resistance of crypto is immensely valuable. Fungibility, obviously, we want to talk about. The permissionless, open source, available to anyone in the world. So give me ideas, send me DMs or whatever. But yeah, I don't have anything fun today. I don't have any music. I got this background music. I did want to go, I guess last thing, I talked about this a few weeks ago. And I don't know if this will be fun or not. So I bought, recently, you guys probably saw I posted, I started getting into ThorChain. I bought ThorChain like 2 years ago. I put a couple Litecoin on ThorChain. And it's earned a little bit of interest. It's done just kind of okay. I'm interested in it. I'm trying to get them to come on the show and walk through what ThorChain does. But I am putting some money into ThorChain. And what I think that's going to do is actually open up something I wanted to try a couple weeks ago, as you guys may or may not know. I started talking about like the shitcoin. What was I going to call it? Shitcoin Saturdays or something, and get into ICOs. And I'll go back because I thought this was kind of funny. I went and looked this up. So there were some ones that we missed. We had 3 or 4 we had targeted. We didn't buy because my laziness comes through. And I wanted to give a review. Like, how would we have done? Because our whole idea was like, hey, we all chip in, let's say $10. We buy one, we wait for the launch, and if it goes crazy, we sell it, right? See if we can make some money. So we were looking at, initially I talked about this hook protocol, and this was the one that I was mad at myself for missing. That was the first stream I talked about this one. So I didn't actually buy this one, just so you know. But I missed it. The ICO was 10 cents. Right now it's $2.79. This is so crazy to me. Somebody made 28x on this stupid coin. Like, even initially it launched at $2. So you could have gotten the ICO at 10 cents. Made 20x right off the bat. Pretty crazy. So that was like this thing that teased me into this, going, well, maybe we should do this just for fun. And we all just have a little bit of fun. So we looked at a couple. I never bought anything. It was this Koakuma Arena. This is the one I think I had decided we were like, we're going to get this one. I liked it. So Koakuma, and it looks like it's having a good day, but let me tell you, the ICO or the IDO, whatever that happens to be, I don't know what the difference is. was 1.8 cents, and now it's 0.007 cents. So luckily we didn't buy that one. It is down 50 to 60%. So we dodged a bullet with Koakuma. This ESPL Arena. This was one actually I liked more than Koakuma because I thought this one was actually tied into like competitions for gaming. It started at 4 cents was the ICO price was. It's at about 0.4 of a cent. So again, we would have lost 90% of our value. Just to kind of give us an idea. Now those were both BNB Smart Chain. This might be able to find some patterns here. If you guys have any that you like look at, let me know. Do you guys ever? I haven't bought a shitcoin in ages. And then let's see. How did Polygonum? Is that just supposed to be? Oh, it's got Pog. It's supposed to be a play on Poly, probably Polymatic. Went from 8 cents to less than 0.8 of a cent. So again, now 90%. Good Lord. Over 90% in a matter of a few days. So needless to say, even the day it launched, wait, what? So see, this is where there's probably some BS going on. The price was 8 cents. And then it launched at $1.60 something. I'm guessing maybe you couldn't actually access your coins until a certain time. And that's when the price dropped to almost nothing. But anyway, is the music annoying yet? Is it too repetitive? Okay, so let's look at what's coming up. And well, here the reason I was bringing up Thorchain is what Thorchain actually gives me access to is BNB. Let me see if I can pull up Thorchain actually. Should be able to pull up their I gotta say their website. I can't stand it, to be honest with you. It's way too difficult to figure out where the heck you're supposed to go. They have all these apps and you can't explain. So you can trade into. So if I have Litecoin, I can trade into any of these tokens. On BNB, I can get into some of these. I can get on AVAX. I can get all these junk coins on AVAX. I can get an ETH. You can get just like an ungodly amount of coins. So what that means is now that I'm on Thorchain, I can kind of swap into these guys. I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. It just keeps going. I mean, it's Taco Coin. I'm interested. So, as you can see, I mean, this is just a never-ending list. Oh, FTT's there. FT. I wonder if that's that Arena coin. So that gives me access. I can finally have a way to kind of onboard. I'm not in Pancake Swap or whatever that one, because that's where a lot of these are. So I thought, here we go. Let's figure out one I can buy and I can access. SolaX or SAX is one that it's on Ethereum, so technically I can figure out how to do it. I don't know what fees are. Might be a learning process for all of it. So you got BNB, maybe Lunify is one we want. So look at the upcoming, and you'll figure it out. And SolaX is coming up more rapidly than any of the others. It's a nickel. It's on Ethereum. Automated market maker. There you go. So maybe I'll figure out how to swap into a little bit of Ethereum. Yeah, I hear you, Handy Stoic. I'm just doing this purely for fun, like a casino and gambling. Like what the heck? We all throw $10 in. If it goes up 10x, we collectively have a great time. So this one is a nickel, and maybe we find out a little about it. I don't know. Do some work, figure out how to buy it, and go from there. The seed sale. Oh, see, I'm locked up for 6 months. This is how they do it. This is how they get you. So, all right, maybe we don't like that one because I can't actually sell it. So, anyway, we'll keep looking. Maybe it won't. I keep saying this. It might be kind of fun, but whatever. All right. So that's all I got today, guys. It was going to be a short one. I told you that. Tonight, here, I believe it'll be here. Litecoin Chief, I think. Go to his YouTube channel and see if you can subscribe to him. I'm pretty sure we're going to do it here, but actually, let me look him up real quick before I go. He's trying to build an audience, man. He's doing giveaways. It's like he got bit by the bug and he's ready to make it happen. I don't know what his channel is, darn it. I'll find it. Don't worry. I know you're all on pins and needles here. Chief Litecoin, man, that's what it is. Let me look him up. Well, he doesn't even have his YouTube channel in his bio. Come on, bro. I tried Chief Litecoin. Well, I don't know. You can look him up on Twitter, Chief Litecoin. So we'll probably put it both places. We'll stream it, and it should be pretty fun. Like I said, Bogglemoss is going to be here. Tux. Oh, Handy Stoic. You're the one that was the box. What was you guys called? The Box Meat Revolution or something like that? There's a lag in comments. If you're the one that sent me that, we listened to it last week. All right. I guess you'll have to go back and watch. I liked it, by the way, if that was you. I think that was you. I thought your music was actually really good, and I was pleasantly surprised compared to some of the other stuff out there. So, yeah, Box Meat Revolution. Yeah, we listened to it last week. I listened to your first 2 tracks. It was really cool. Maybe we'll play it tonight during the poker game. We can all listen to it. But be aware, Tux is going to be there. Bogglemoss. We're going to be very honest. This might be a very interesting conversation that develops. So I hope you guys tune in. It is going to be a lot of fun. 9 o'clock Eastern tonight. I'm guessing we're going to play for a few hours the way poker goes. And we'll just go from there. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I promise these will be better. I've told my wife this last week. I was getting to the point I was kind of burned out. I was almost done doing spaces. And, I think this format right here is what's perfect for me. My big thing is I got to get people to come in. So if you have like interviews that anybody, I'll talk about anything. I don't care. It doesn't even have to be crypto related. But I want to be able to create, this is a great place for me to create content. I can then chop out any interviews. I can minimize, I can like take snippets out. I can take the audio and make podcasts out of them from this. So I've just been lazy, man. I know I feel like that's a theme right now. And I'm more like kind of beating myself up. I got a lot of other stuff. I got a family and hobbies and stuff. So it's just a matter of getting dedicated to spending a few hours every weekend on like doing this on Saturday morning, maybe doing editing on Sunday morning. But I'm going to start getting more content out. I promise you that. That is something that I want to do. And it's all recorded. It's just a matter of getting it out. So I appreciate you guys always showing up for my spaces, and you always show up for this. And it surprises me how much people want to come listen to me talk, to be honest with you. I've always liked the sound of my own voice. I like to talk, so I'm surprised a few other people do as well. So, so tonight, poker, and thanks for listening. Have a good week, and go Litecoin. All right, bye.